Welcome back. My name is Adrienne and today we're doing my January wrap-up. The first month of 2021, I am a brand new reader. I have read 7 books this month. It's actually January 31st, so I completed 7 books before the month even went out. I'm very proud of myself. This year I'm intentionally trying to read more books with a goal of 75 books, and I am on track to reach it so far. So the very first book that I read this year is the original by Brandon Sanderson. This is set in a sci-fi world where people go into a facility to upload their memories so that if they die for whatever reason, they can be uploaded into a new body, a replica body, and basically be immortal from there. The main character of this book is a replica, but this one was created because the original murdered her husband, and the government sometimes make replicas when they can't catch a criminal who is on the run, and they tell the replica that if they can catch their original, they get to live their life as an original. So when this replica wakes up, she is in shock that her original would have murdered their husband. So she sets off to prove that her original did not murder her husband. There's all sorts of chaos from there. This book was a ton of fun. I loved the audiobook for it. It had music and special effects sound, and the world was very creepy but cool. Everyone has like mental interfaces and you can theme the world around you. In the replica, it's her first time viewing the world without theming on, so like you can enhance the colors of things, you can change what you see, you can block out the people that you see, you can feel like you're completely alone even if you're in a place filled with people if you have your settings turned to that. Or you can change what the world looks like she bumps into someone who has everything animated in cartoon form. Like, it's really weird. Like, I wouldn't want to live in that world, but it's fascinating to read about because it was a lot of fun. There are a couple twists and turns. For some reason, Brandon Sanderson twists and turns rarely shock me. So they're like fun reveals, but not as exciting as I hoped they would be. But I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. It was very good and a great first book to read this year. The next thing I picked up was Summer Frost by Blake Crouch. This is part of the Forward series by Amazon. It's a collection of 6, I think all sci-fi stories that Blake Crouch curated or put together with the other authors, I think. This is the only one that I've read out of the collection so far, and it was really good. It follows a woman who is a video game designer or programmer, and one of the non-playable characters in the storyline starts having thoughts and making decisions on her own. So they take her out of the video game and start giving her or it information to teach it, which, you know, is a horrible idea to do with artificial intelligence, but they give it information and the story gets a little wild after that. So it was another fun sci-fi, and I won't say more about the plot because it's a really short ebook, but I really enjoyed it. Another 4-star book. Next, I was still very much in the sci-fi mood, so I decided to reread Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I loved this book so much when I first read it, probably 5 or 6 years ago. So this book follows Wade, who is in a virtual reality video game called The Oasis, competing in this competition to basically win the Oasis and become the CEO of the Oasis company when the founder, James Halliday, dies. And he created this game for after he dies that the person who can solve his Easter egg puzzle will win the whole company. This book is full of 80s pop culture mixed with sci-fi, virtual reality gaming, and it's, again, so much fun. I just wanted all the fast-paced sci-fi books this month. But I listened to the audiobook for this one actually, which the first time I read the physical copy, so it was a bit of a new experience for me, and I read it so quickly, and I didn't think I would love it as much this time around, but I did, and I gave it 5 stars. So then I was finally able to pick up Ready Player Two by Ernest Cline, which has been getting a lot of slack on the internet, and people have been really harsh against this book, and I think it's completely unfounded. Like, this book is, again, trying to be a fun video game competition story, and I think it was exactly that. It was still full of 80s pop culture. I only gave this one 4 stars because the characters I did not feel as connected to, and I did not enjoy them as much as I did in the first book. This one also has longer drawn out references. For example, there's a whole Prince planet, as in Prince the symbol, the singer. And I do enjoy Prince, and I loved listening to Prince music while I experienced the chapters on Prince planet. But whether you liked one of the subjects or not, they went on for much longer than I think they did in the first book. So although I enjoy Prince, I did not want to read about the Prince world and the weird, I won't tell you what they were doing on Prince world, but I didn't want to read about that for 45 minutes. You know, like the first book had shorter references. But this one, without spoiling the first one, there's a new competition going on, and there's a new experience in the Oasis with ONI headsets, which are connected to your brain and fully submersive content from that. And basically the virtual reality game now is indistinguishable from real life. Since hooking things up to your brain are probably a bad idea, things go awry, and now they have to complete this competition at a very fast pace to save the world from being destroyed by this fully submersive experience. I think reading Ready Player 1 and 2 back to back was a bit too much for me. Like, I was having fun, but I was also like ready for it to be over. But I did still think this was a very good book. I have heard people have issues about Wade as a character. He, in the beginning, is supportive of a monopoly. He's supportive of running this huge franchise and taking over the world and helping people get more fully submerged in the Oasis, even though the state of the world in this book is complete crap. There's a lot of people dying of starvation. The climate is changing. The world is just destroyed. And in the beginning, he thinks it's okay to get people more submerged into the game because they can pretend to eat in the game and enjoy food, although in real life they have to eat like rations or nutritional pills instead. So he gets caught up in helping people get more into the Oasis than actually fixing the earth so that they could all survive. But I don't think this was ever viewed as a good thing. It's pretty clear from the beginning that he is wrong and he is a child, maybe not literally, but he at least I think was a teenager. Yes, making dumb decisions. And it's about Wade becoming a better person, kind of learning through, you know, the stakes that the world are in, how he could be making a better contribution to the planet, but also just having fun with his 80s stuff and going on an adventure with his friends again. So 4 stars, very fun. Next, I read The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. This book follows a housekeeper and a professor. The housekeeper takes care of the professor, who has an 80-minute memory, so every day she reintroduces herself to him. She brings her son, who the professor nicknamed Root, along with her every day, and the professor forms a bond with the housekeeper and her son that is really a beautiful relationship, especially the dynamic of it from him having no memory of them every day, but he leaves notes for himself to remind him who they are. And he is a mathematics professor, and there is so much stuff in here about math, and he's obsessed with math, and every time he sees her he's like, what's your birthday, what's your shoe size, what's your phone number? Like, he loves all these numbers, and he reduces them to, you know, this and this are a prime number and that's related to this. And I don't know if I can explain at all what type of math things they were doing, but it brought the housekeeper and her son into this world of math in a really fun way. Like, they were able to bond over it, and it was really short, but it was just a nice glimpse of this life and this relationship, and it was really a sweet, beautiful story. Next, I listened to Alex Trebek's audiobook called The Answer Is, and I'm not going to give a rating for it because I did not love it, and I don't want to give a low rating to Alex Trebek's life. I love Jeopardy so much. I love Alex Trebek. I love Ken Jennings, who reads a large portion of the audiobook, and I love the Jeopardy culture, but I did not love the audiobook. It's full of short snippets and stories from Alex Trebek's life and his musings. Each little story starts off with, the answer is such and such. The answer is music, which was really a weird and unpleasant format. And I just didn't like all these tiny little snippets of Alex Trebek's life. A lot of the things I just didn't see why they were included in his autobiography. Like, he would tell of a random fun time he had, or okay, I guess I get why it's in his autobiography. I just didn't really enjoy it, and I was really surprised by my reaction to his story. And it definitely didn't make me like him less, but it's just like, oh, that's just not what I imagined this book would be like at all. It was, of course, very sad, him talking about his cancer diagnosis and how he's dealing with that. And I did get some great like quotes and things that I loved that he included, or the things that he talked about, but just overall I did not enjoy the book. I didn't like Ken Jennings reading it to me, just because Alex Trebek and Ken Jennings' voices are so recognizable to me that it always felt like Ken Jennings reading Alex Trebek's book, even though it was a first-person narrative. But then even when Alex Trebek, he did come in and read some of the chapters himself, and I didn't really enjoy those either. So I just don't think that one wasn't for me. And he even says in the beginning that he never planned on writing a book and it wasn't his strength. So again, why I don't want to rate the book at all. Anyways, yeah, I did not love that book. And then finally, I read The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Was it a winner or maybe just a nominee for the Goodreads Best Fiction or something? And then this book has also been on a ton of people's favorite books of 2020 list. I guess I kind of get it, but again, another 4-star book, which all the books here, except for the reread, which I left 5 stars, are all basically 4 stars, which is sad, and I will be working hard to find a 5-star book next month. But anyways, The Midnight Library follows a woman who is very depressed. A bunch of horrible things happen to her in the very first part of the book, and she attempts to commit suicide. And instead of dying, she wakes up in the Midnight Library, which is a library full of all the choices that she could have made in life. She's guided by someone in the library, and she decides with them which regret she wants to try undoing and live the life that would have happened if she did not make the decision that she regrets. Did that make sense? So for example, she gave up on swimming when she was a kid, so she then lives a life if she didn't give up on swimming. Or there was a point where her best friend wanted them to move to Australia together and she decided not to, so she has to live the life of if she did move to Australia. And each time she jumps into one of these lives, as soon as she starts to feel disappointed by it, she goes back to the library. So basically, as it sounds, is kind of restoring her want to live, which is a beautiful thing. I thought it was fun. I thought it went exactly where like even the synopsis would kind of tell you it would go. But it was interesting to see. I really thought it would be a 5-star book, but sadly it was not. But I enjoyed it. Those are all the books that I read in January. Let me know what your favorite book from January was. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.